So I was talking with a patient recently about mindset, and one of the things she was saying is that she just felt so frustrated. She felt like she had no control over her life, and that feeling made her feel completely unmotivated to do all the things that she knows could probably make her feel a little bit better. So I felt like this was a very valuable conversation, and I wanted to share some of the ways I help patients and clients get out of that feeling of stuckness. So let's dive in. So when you're feeling frustrated or feeling stuck or feeling like you're not in control, this is where the idea of mindset is really huge. Sometimes we can't change the situation immediately. So maybe it's a job that you're not happy with, or you're unhappy with your weight or your relationships. Now, you can't change it immediately. You can do the work to start to get out of that, but change isn't going to happen overnight, generally speaking. You may sit down for your meditation and then you may get up and the situation is exactly the same. But what you can change is how you respond to it and how you feel about it. One of the first things I tend to talk about when having these conversations, and it might sound a little bit harsh, but generally I'll say, stop arguing for your limitations. Stop telling me why it can't happen. Stop telling me why things can't change, because nothing's going to change until you change, or at least change your attitude about it. So let's use the example of, the job, frustrated with work. If you're looking to elevate in your career or just looking to have a different sort of position, a different role, you're not happy with what you're doing, you got to think about, one, what is your ideal? Like, what do you want? But then you got to think about, okay, how would you be in that situation? What does the person who's in that role act like? What do they do? How do they think? Then you got to become that person. So instead of telling me why it won't work, why it'll never happen, you got to think about, who do I need to become in order to be that happy person? And that's the first step. And it often sounds a little bit harsh, but it's really true, because it has so much to do with stepping away from the old you and becoming a new you in a way. But it's usually based on shifting your mindset and thinking about things differently. And this gets to the idea of making those mindset shifts. Now, I have a whole video all about mindset shifts and I'll link it up here, but let's touch on this idea briefly. So how do you get out of that old repetitive way of thinking? Well, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you need to start to have some pattern interrupts during your day. This is where you recognize, what have you been thinking over the last little bit? Have I been thinking negatively about this? Is it affecting my mood at this point? So things that I do, I will schedule a timer or an alarm that will go off either on my watch or my phone, where it literally just is a thing for me to recognize, oh, what was I thinking this last little bit? What type of mood am I in? And is this where I want to be? No judgment about it, but is it making me feel good or is it making me feel bad? And just becoming aware of that at first. Another way to have these mindset shifts is to start to push yourself into a parasympathetic nervous state. Because usually when we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling lack of control, the hormones and our chemical cocktail in our body is raging, and we're probably feeling like we're living in survival. So we're doing everything we can to hold on, right? So doing things like meditation, things like breath work, things like gratitude practice, feeling the emotions of gratitude. All these things can, again, be pattern interrupts to our normal way of thinking and help us, one, become aware of them, but then two, shift it into how we want to be. Now, here's some things that you might not think of when it comes to working with your mindset and working with your mood. Number one is nutrition. Now, I know this one might be a little bit surprising, but it really shouldn't be, given how interconnected the mind and the gut are. There's a whole system called the enteric nervous system, which is kind of our gut-brain axis. Our brain is communicating with our gut is communicating with our brain, and they're talking to each other. And one of the things that we're starting to understand now with the emerging science and emerging research is that our microbiome heavily influences this crosstalk. Now, when we are having a poor diet or the SAD or standard American diet, our microbiome generally suffers. We have a decrease in the diversity of, little critters that are floating around in there. And the importance of this is that those little critters, or the bacteria that's there, or our microbiome as a whole, actually can influence our neurotransmitters. So things like serotonin, those things that kind of elevate our mood, our dopamine, those things that make us, have the willpower to make change and to get pleasure and reward from doing different things. So cleaning up your diet, making sure that you are eating a wide variety of different plants and vegetables, getting enough protein and having an overall well-balanced whole foods-based nutritional diet is going to have a huge impact on your mood and even, those negative thoughts you might be having, that feeling of frustration, that feeling of depression. So when you're feeling this way, make sure you're checking in with your nutrition. I guarantee you're probably eating a lot of processed foods when you're feeling this way. And another thing you can do, and what I like to share with clients, is to get up and get moving. Exercise or just movement, just things like walking, can have a huge impact on the way we feel and our mood. Again, it's another way to start to produce those feel-good neurotransmitters, things like serotonin, our dopamine, et cetera, et cetera. You get your heart rate up, you get your body moving, you get your blood flow going, and those feel-good endorphins start to increase. Looking at it from another aspect, you have to have a way to kind of release those negative emotions and release it out of your body, kind of flush your brain as well. And moving or exercise is a great way to do this. So whether it's walking, running, cycling, swimming, hiking, dancing, I don't care what it is, but get up, get moving, 20 to 30 minutes a couple of days a week to start with. Guarantee you, once you start to get into a regular pattern of this, you're going to wonder why you haven't been doing it the whole time, because it's going to make you feel so much better. It's going to make you feel that you're more in control. You're going to realize that you're actually not stuck. You're just frustrated with the way things are going, but you can change that. So tomorrow does not necessarily have to look like today. So just wanted to share because I thought this was a really great conversation. If you've learned something, or if you would like to share, how you come out of that feeling of frustration or the feelings of low mood, then why don't you leave a comment down below and we can have a discussion there. All right, I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.